All right, this is for my automotive students. Hi guys, this is another application, hopefully, of what you've learned in class applied to a different type of vehicle. Last time we did the brakes on this. This is my BMW K1600. Today we're just going to do lube oil filter. So let me kind of zoom in on that. We'll get the camera where we need to be, and then I will probably proceed to make a mess. Right in here is the plug I need to remove. I'm going to use an 8mm hex and a ratchet. We'll pull that out of there. It's kind of warm. It should be warm. I was always taught that half hour after shutdown, probably the longest you need to wait to change the oil. That way all of the sediment is still floating around in the oil rather than dropping out of it and settling. So we'll give this a whirl. Try not to burn myself or make too much of a mess. So, all right, I've got the catalytic converters. These things are plain as day here. So just ahead of the catalytic converters, that little area, right there. So I'll begin to loosen it. Then I'll go ahead and throw the drain pan underneath it. All right. Let's see if I can't get it with the left hand. All right, now I'm going to attempt to keep this drain plug from hitting the oil in the pan. There we go. Okay, there it's draining. I change this about every 3,000 miles, so if I put the light behind it there, you can see that the oil really is not terribly dirty. It is dirty enough. Normally it's a pretty clear liquid, but it's not nasty black looking stuff like you'd expect coming out of a diesel. Or so again, I like to keep this thing pretty well maintained since it's my daily driver. All right, now BMW has done something a little bit different with this bike. I don't want to say it's strange or goofy. To me, it's maybe a little bit strange. There's a second drain plug up in there, so I have to reach up inside this crankcase and find the other drain plug and pull it out. So there are basically two sumps that I'm dealing with here, and pulling the second one out can be a little tricky. If I lose it, that's bad news. Then this bottom pan may have to come off if I can't fish it out with a magnet. So I'll let this dribble a little bit longer so I don't make such a big mess pulling the second one out. Now, one thing I will show you is we've got a magnet on this part right here. So I always like to look at that and make sure I'll wipe it off. Hopefully there's not anything heavy accumulated in there. So a little bit like this, I'm not going to worry about. There's a crush washer. Okay, crush washers. In this case, aluminum crush washer. Okay, I think the one I've got is copper to replace it. Here we've got, what is this, 5mm hex. Okay, that 5mm hex is going to go right up in there. I got to put that up into the hole. I need to find where the plug is, insert this into the plug, and remove it. So it's all very simple. You've got a good sense of feel. All right, so that's up in there. There we go. I've pretty well engaged the hex. I'm going to go ahead and loosen it a little bit. Okay, now this one is just a taper. There is no gasket. So torque here is very important. Right now, what I'm going to attempt to do, put that drain pan back underneath there. I'll stick them up and I'm going to remove it. Now, this is where I'm going to get wet. My hand's probably going to burn a little bit. But I need to make sure that I keep that drain plug on the end of this 5mm hex tool. All right. Ouch, it's a little warm, a little warm, a little warm. Okay, that's beautiful. Had I dropped that off the end there, like I said, I may have had to pull this pan off. to find it, but there that is. And again, no gasket here, just a little bit of a taper, and he is removed. All right, while that's draining, I'm going to go ahead and remove the oil filter. All right, here's the oil filter. Let me back out a little bit further. Oil filter is conveniently placed right behind that shifter, so not in the absolute best of places to get at. In fact, I'm going to remove part of the shifter linkage so I can swing him down out of the way just a little bit to facilitate the installation of my filter tool. Let me zoom in just a touch. Go. All right, there's a clip right here that I'm going to remove. Now, all I'm going to do is push on that clip. It's going to come out of the groove, and then the little retainer, that's actually what the clip is, a retainer. It is then going to allow me to remove that little shifter linkage there. There we go. I'm just going to push that. All right, now, normally I'd have my other finger wrapped around that as I pushed it, so if it decided to fly out, I would capture it. Now, it flew out and it bounced on the floor, so I'll pick that up and we'll show you what that looks like. But at this point now, I can push that ball socket off of there. And there we have it. Now I can swing him down out of the way. While I got it apart, I'm going to go ahead and spray a little bit of lube in there. And now I'm ready to remove that filter. Now, pulling the filter off, I've got a filter tool that matches that one. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that, a 3/8 ratchet and extension, and I can pull him right out of there. All right, here's my tool. I bought it online. It's kind of handy. I just keep it in one of the saddle bags. It fits on there real nice, makes removal very nice. I'm going to go ahead and place a little bit of tin foil. I can do this with plastic. I can do it with cardboard if I want to. I'm going to shove some of that up in this area here in an attempt to hopefully keep that old oil off of the exhaust and off of that O2 sensor. So that way when I fire the beastie up, I'm not going to be smoking all over the place, and hopefully I'm not going to oil soak those wires, or at least that protective sleeve on the wires. All right. Off he comes. All right, oil's draining. All right, I'll drop that in there. Now, what I like to do, make sure that gasket is in place. On this bike, it's not a big deal. I can see the surface plainly, but on cars, sometimes it's difficult to see that surface, and I know regardless of what I tell you to do, not everybody reaches up there, wipes it down, and checks for a gasket. But again, with this vehicle, it's a piece of cake. I can see that pretty plainly.